there are not very many feminine images of God spelled out in the Bible. Take a look. There are not many there. And it's worth asking the question, why? Is it because they were never there? Or is it because something happened to them along the way? There's an interesting discussion to be had, because what we find out from scholars, and when we look into the text, particularly of the Hebrew Bible, and as we take a look at some of the archaeological finds that have been so significant and important, we find out that the ancient Hebrew people were not as strictly monotheistic as we think of them. And there have been some really fascinating things when we look at early Hebrew religion, what would eventually become Judaism as we know it today. In that time, there was a female divine presence who was worshipped alongside Adonai. And she had a name. It was Asherah. And you can find some references to Asherah in Scripture if you take a look. But what we can tell is that they've been altered. Now, I've got an image that I want to show you. But this is one of the ways that we know that there was a different conception of God, and there was this female God that was alongside. And along the way, she had been the consort, the companion, the counterpart to God. And she was present in the worship of the Hebrew people for centuries, as far as we can tell, and she was worshipped in the temple alongside Adonai, and she was there. But as the Hebrew Scriptures were compiled and redacted and formed together more the way that we know them during Second Temple Judaism, she was written out. This is when Judaism began to circle more into monotheistic territory. This is where we see the patriarchy really strongly asserting itself in a lot of ways, in the ways that the text was shaped. And so what we have left in the text are just some scattered references. Her name was repurposed and kind of reduced to a word for a cult object. Where you find Asherah in the Hebrew Bible today, it's usually going to be referring to Asherah poles as an object of cultic worship. And that's because her role got reshaped as the understanding of God continued to change and evolve over time. But very, very early on, she was there and she was present. The scarcity of feminine or femme God language in the Bible doesn't mean that it was never there. It's evidence of the editing and shaping that took place over time. There are